LauRen and Kaiti, hello to both of you. Thank you for joining us. Really nice to meet both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Very interesting spelling for both of your names. Kaiti, Kaiti.
Yes.
Right? That's correct. And LauRen, you're Lau, capital REN. You probably get called LauRen a lot.
All of the time.
And then you correct them.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, from someone who was named after an Alfred Hitchcock movie, I can understand. So you were named after Sophia Loren.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you come from an Italian family? And
I do. Big Italian family.
Okay. And so you're Lauren, and that's totally unique. And I had been reading it and saying it in my head, and then I'm like, well, you know what? That R might be capitalized for a reason. And it turns out it is. Okay, so LauRen, you are a morning show radio host in Charlotte, North Carolina, a wife, a mom, you have a blog, you have a podcast, you have done a lot of different things. So we have a lot of ground to cover. Competed in the Miss USA pageant with Miss Pennsylvania 2008. I'm just rolling off all of your accomplishments. It's a long list.
Oh, it's not that cool. I can assure you of it.
Well, my point in sort of establishing all of that is that you have had success somewhat based on physical appearance. You are somewhat living in a public spotlight, which is often judging on physical appearance. And our podcast is about appearance and health and wellness and all of that together. And you kind of live in that world. And I live in that world as well. It's not fun to be judged on physical appearance, especially when you're not at your best.
Yeah, I think, when we put ourselves out there in this like kind of public bubble for everyone to see, we have to almost have a thicker skin than most people because people are constantly, inserting themselves into your life. But to be honest with you, I really love that kind of side to it too, to hear what people have to say and to educate them if you have to, but also like just talk to people. I mean, one of my favorite things about working in morning radio is the fact that it's a two-way conversation. People can call in and you get to talk and like live out a lot of these things with other people. I took my very first pregnancy test when I was pregnant with my first son, Cash, live on the radio. So I feel like our listeners especially are very invested in our lives.
And so you are open with that. You have to be willing to share that kind of stuff in the first place. So
yeah, I think so.
You're living a public life. And Kaiti is your coach at Profile. It's someone that you met when you started getting back to the body you wanted or the health that you wanted. We'll get into that in a minute, but just wanted to establish what you have done and having worked in the NFL and NBA as a dancer, cheerleader. I don't want to mislabel it, but I think
I'm
so.
Listen,
Again, physical.
It is what it is. We dance and we cheer.
Okay.
So I know like some people are like, oh, NFL, are cheerleaders and NBA are dancers, but really we did the same thing on both teams. Like it's fine. But I did cheer for the Miami Dolphins and then again here in Charlotte for the Charlotte Bobcats and then the Hornets when they crossed over. They made the change. So in two different seasons of my life, by the way, when I cheered for the Miami Dolphins, I was 19 to 21. And then I didn't cheer again professionally until I was 28 to 31. Oh, so two completely different seasons.
Yeah, that's a pretty big gap. And so you mentioned your son and you have two boys, Cash, I'm going to guess four and a half.
Yep.
Okay. And Jax, who was born in June.
Yes.
So that, I'm guessing, is a big reason why you found Profile. Having had a second baby, did you use the mom program while you were pregnant? Are you in the post program of weight loss? What kind of Profile programs did you use?
Yeah, I sure did. Kaiti helped me a lot, especially when I started out because I was still breastfeeding. I breastfed exclusively for 6 months and then supplemented and was pumping for the last 2.5 months that I was breastfeeding. So when I came on board in January, I definitely had some goals in mind for the future, but I knew I was in, a different space of my life where I couldn't be actively trying to lose weight at that point. So my focus was not to lose the weight. It was to maintain and get my baby the most nutrients that he possibly could have. I wasn't lucky enough to be able to breastfeed the first time around very long with Cashton. So it was really important for me this time around to be able to give him exactly what he needed if I could. I mean, a fed baby is a healthy, a happy baby. Yeah. So I know a lot of moms put such pressure on themselves. I just wanted to be able, with Katie's help, to give Jackson exactly what I was able to give Jackson.
Okay. And so Kaiti, when LauRen comes to you and she's a new mother and she's like, I'm not here to lose weight right away, how do you know how to help her to make sure she's now giving her baby what he needs?
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things is we have all these different programs. So being able to really meet our member exactly where they are, wherever they are, and whatever their goals are. So we immediately put her in our mom program, which is designed for women who are trying to get pregnant, are pregnant, or are nursing. And the primary focus is health. So we want to make sure that she not just support her baby right through her breast milk, but also the woman's body goes through a lot when she has a baby, and she needs a lot of love and nurturing, and that starts with the food that she eats. So we put her right in that mom program to help her recover and also help support her breastfeeding goals as well.
And LauRen, did you lose weight just as a result of being healthier, or did you then also make a conscious choice with Kaiti, like, okay, Kaiti, now I want to sort of shift into a weight loss version of a program?
Yeah, I think it's so different because your body goes through all these like hormonal changes, especially when you're coming off of your breastfeeding journey. And I think that was the biggest struggle for me because, when I first started with Profile, I wasn't trying to lose weight, but because I was eating a little bit healthier, I did lose a little bit of pounds. But when I was transitioning from nursing to, full formula for my son and my milk was drying up, it was a hormone change for me where I started to gain a little bit of weight, but my focus was now also shifting out of, okay, now that Jackson is fully on formula, I can have that long-term goal that I initially had that I wasn't ready to quite reach for. Now Kaiti was able to get me on a different track. And I think my favorite thing about Profile is that it's not like a one size fits all, right? It's not like you walk in, you get a meal plan, I get the same meal plan that Kaiti gets, you get. It was nice that Kaiti could go in and say, okay, we're going to change this up a little to now tweak and be able to reach your ultimate goal of losing the baby weight. And
did you get there?
So I am just a few pounds away, but I am back in my pre-baby jeans, which is, I think that's all mothers really want, right? Like we all really just strive to get back into our pre-baby clothes. And I have lost all my weight from my second pregnancy. But what I told Kaiti when I initially came in is because this is my long-term goal, I never lost all the baby weight for my first pregnancy.
Okay.
So, that's weight that sat there for 4 years and then you put more weight on top of it. So it's not like, Kaiti, you can probably speak to this better than I can, but I can't expect for it to come off overnight either. Like you got to put in the work, you got to do, the dang thing and give it time and not put so much pressure on yourself. And I think Kaiti knows my life is crazy. I come in, Katie's like my therapist. She's like, what's my life this week? I'm like, oh, my hair's on vacation. My husband's driving me crazy. I got piles of work coming, and that was a really nice aspect to it too, is when, because your body works differently when you're under stress.
Oh, yeah. And having a baby, I have 2 kids. They're now 9 and 11, or they're 11 and 13. And sometimes I lose track of their ages. Sometimes I lose track of them.
Time flies.
Time flies. And the body, man, it does some incredible things. You birthed a human being and then you made food for that human being.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a little grace too and pat ourselves on the back and not just say like, why am I not skinny? And it sounds like, LauRen, you took that right approach of like, I'm going to first be healthy. Mm-hmm. And then when I'm ready and my baby's ready, I'm going to switch gears. And so Kaiti, when you are sort of shifting LauRen from just making sure she's giving her baby the right nutrients to now she's saying, okay, let's tighten up a little. I'd like to lose some of the baby weight. Then how do you shift her program and how delicate is that?
Yeah, I love that you use the word delicate, because I think a lot of this is a lot of that delicate nuance where, it's important that we keep that perspective. Like LauRen just said, you be graceful with yourself. The time that you sit down with us is time for you, for our members. And when you are a busy mom, LauRen's life, always makes me laugh. And I'm like, this is your time. This is time for you to sit down and talk about you and spend some time on you. But yeah, we just shift her out of our mom program into our weight loss program. And it has to fit her life. So we really sat down and worked with her and talked through her day and made it a meal plan in that program, but in a way that made sense for her life, that made sense for her day. Because at the end of the day, if it's not something that you can't, if it doesn't flow with your day, it's not sustainable, you're not going to want to do it. So we really go through that whole process of, okay, talk me through your day. This is the bones of the program, but let's make it fit you and let's make it fit your day.
Well, I feel like that's a big piece of it. And I just went back I did like 3 weeks because I'd slowly started over the last year to creep up like 5 pounds, 6 pounds, if I'm honest. And so I just did it again and with my coach. And what you just said, Kaiti, I think is so important because I had to fit my schedule, which was working in the evenings and working a long stretch of days in a row. And so it was, okay, pre-plan, make sure you get to the grocery store. Do you have chicken ready? And because the last thing you want to do is be caught where I'm so hungry, I need to eat now, and I don't have anything ready. And now what am I going to reach for? And so for you to be able to plan out and say, okay, LauRen, what are you doing? Where are you? Are you traveling? Are you home? Is your husband helpful as a cook? Is he out of town? Like, what do you need so that this will fit you, your life, your time, all of that? So how did you get those kind of matched up?
Yeah, so I think it's just being curious, right? Like I can't help my members, profile coaches can't help their members if we don't first know what you need help with. So it's a lot of being curious, of asking questions, like you just said, what is going on in your life and what problems. For me, it's what are the barriers here? What barriers are in the way? And how can we start to pull down those barriers with some strategies? Everybody has a different strategy. Everybody's strategies work different. So I think first step is, hey, get curious. What's going on? What do you need? What can we strategize together? It has to be a partnership, right? I can't come up with strategies for LauRen. We have to come up with them together. She has to, it's really a team effort here. We're partners in this. So just seeking out to see, what is it and how can we problem solve together to get it done.
I think it's really funny too, because I brought this issue to Kaiti maybe about a month ago now, but again, coming from a big Italian family, you can't go out to dinner with my family and say, I'm going to have a salad, or, I'm going to have an appetizer, and because I'm full, I'm not going to eat an entree. Like, that doesn't fly with my family. They will just sit there and pound you and say, what do you mean you're not eating? Manja, But for me, it was, learning how to be able to eat while I'm out too. So Kaiti even sat down with me and we went through menus of like, okay.
Oh, wow.
There's hidden calories in everything, right? There's butter smothered in this and there's that and that. So it was really helpful to go through menus with me and say, okay, well, this would fit into your meal plan. So you could order that. And that for me was probably where I struggled the most, is being out to eat or being on the road.
Yes. And so you could go to some of your favorite Italian restaurants with your family and you found the thing on the menu that fits?
Yeah.
What is it?
So I eat a lot of seafood, luckily, but it's asking for steamed vegetables as opposed to sauteed vegetables, or, I told Kaiti, like, I love crab, I love oysters, I love, seafood in general. So I might load up on my protein through the seafood as opposed to getting a steak at the end of my meal. And, it's just like rotating my food around where like nobody really notices that I didn't order the pasta, in my family when you're sitting at the table. And of course mom goes, oh, you got to try this. Okay, mom, I'll try it. But at the end of the day, you can't beat yourself up over, what's sitting in front of you, or you had an extra bite of something. You got to look at the week as a whole. So if you maybe had a little bit more caloric intake one day, then you back it down in one of your other days.
Balance.
Yes.
Balance. And I love that it doesn't mean like, okay, LauRen, guess what? You can't go to Italian restaurants anymore.
Right.
You can't go out to dinner with your family. Like you want to live, you still want to experience things. And a lot of times food is part of the experience. It's part of the celebration of the weekend or the marriage or the whatever is going on and the birthday. And it's just part of our lives. So you need to be able to figure out a way to work with it.
Yeah. Another thing that Katie did with me was I told Katie, I was like, at the very beginning, I'm like, I can only, before we ever looked at a meal plan, I was like, I'm just going to be straight up with you. I can only live on grilled chicken and vegetables for like a certain amount of time. And then I need some variety. Katie sent me she's like, what do you like to eat? I'm like, I love Thai food. She sent me a bunch of Thai food recipes to make. And it's just figuring out, like, it's not that you can't have your favorite food.